Pitchers and catchers are starting to report all across the league. Rest of the team will be joining shortly. In the process of joining, we've gotten to a place now in baseball where a lot of guys show up early, right? You used to have just the pitchers and catchers and then the position players and everybody else showed up later. Everybody mostly shows up early at this point. And a lot of guys obviously live here. It's different when you are Milwaukee or Chicago, right? And that's your home base. For us here in Arizona, a lot of the guys in the offseason, they just live here. So you're here, you might as well start your work early. You might as well there's not travel you have to arrange. There's not, moving you have to do. Just a nice, easy commute, right? And so we're starting to see that process get underway, and we can start to shift our attention to spring training, biggest questions, position battles to pay attention to, who's going to be the closer of this team, all of those things that I'm sure that are on your mind as we get ready for this season. And I am very excited for this baseball season. I think this Diamondbacks team is well positioned to try to bring it to the Dodgers. I don't know if they will, but I think they can. I think they are positioned well enough to bring it to the Dodgers that are, quote unquote, ruining baseball. Everybody's kind of upset with the Dodgers, and I get it. I understand. Spending a lot of money, just won the World Series, have a lot of great players. It can be annoying, but I'm not just going to throw an entire season away and say the Diamondbacks stand no chance. I think they can bring it to the Los Angeles Dodgers. MLB.com put together the one spring training storyline for each team. They had every beat writer that covers all of these teams from MajorLeagueBaseball.com write what the number one spring training storyline for each team. And obviously, as I do when these stories drop, I clicked on it, scrolled all the way down to the Diamondbacks, and I was, I think, surprised at what Steve Gilbert selected as his answer, because his number one spring training storyline doesn't necessarily align with what I think the number one spring training storyline is for this team. His number one spring training storyline for the Diamondbacks is how are they going to deal with their starting rotation? And he points out that they have 7 starting pitchers when camp breaks. They have Corbin Burnes, who they signed to the big free agent deal. They have Zach Gallen. They have Merrill Kelly. They have Eduardo Rodriguez. They also have Brennan Pfaadt. They also have Ryan Nelson. And then they also have Jordan Montgomery. And Gilbert says, quote, "It's going to make for some tough decisions this spring unless the Diamondbacks pull off a trade beforehand." And he starts by saying, after Jordan Montgomery exercised his player option for 2025 and Arizona unexpectedly signed free agent Corbin Burnes, the Diamondbacks will have to decide what to do as they enter camp with 7 starting pitchers, not to mention other young starters with big league experience. And I think this kind of plays itself out. Corbin Burnes, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Brennan Pfaadt are locks, 1 through 4. I think those are 4 locks for this rotation. Corbin Burnes, you spent all that money to be the ace of this team. He's your number 1. Zach Gallen, free agent at the end of the year, but before that was the ace of your team. Now you get to move him to kind of a 1A, 2 role. No doubt. Merrill Kelly, consistent. I know he was hurt last year, but has been one of the best starting pitchers his entire tenure here in Arizona. The perfect number 3 starting pitcher. If Merrill Kelly is your number 3, you are building a pretty decent baseball rotation. Brennan Pfaadt as a number 4, a young pitcher who's still developing his stuff, still developing his craft, and was great in the postseason run 2 years ago, was solid for this team last year, despite all the injuries everywhere else. He was the guy that was taking the ball every 5 days for this team. I think he gets in there. And then you have Eduardo Rodriguez, Ryan Nelson, Jordan Montgomery. I don't even think it's going to be a conversation. Steve Gilbert says it's 6 starting pitchers in this camp. They really have 7. I do not see a world where Jordan Montgomery is viewed as, and I know what they're paying him, but you have to put his salary to the side. You have to put the $20 million to the side and look at the pitcher that Jordan Montgomery is and say what role is best suited for him this year. It's an expiring contract, right? The way we talk about it in the NBA. He's a free agent at the end of the year, so it is just money. He's not somebody that is going to be here beyond this year. So you have already spent that money. Put him in what you think the best role for him is, what you think best helps the team. I do not think Jordan Montgomery being the starter for this team is what is in the best interest of him and what is in the best interest of this team. I think Eduardo Rodriguez and Ryan Nelson are both better options for the Diamondbacks in 2025 over Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery serves better in a long relief role, spot start role, maybe as an opener. If you needed to pull that ripcord at some point, you say, Jordan, you got to give me 2 innings today, and then we're going to turn it over the bullpen, or 3 innings and we'll turn it over the bullpen. That feels like the best use of Jordan Montgomery this year. You watched Jordan Montgomery last year. We were subjected to those starts. It was so bad they had to move him to the bullpen. Now, I know he's going to have a full offseason. I know he's not going to have the logistical hurdle of moving and picking where he's playing and missing those. He's going to be able to hit the ground running in spring training. And so maybe he starts with an opportunity to make this rotation. But there is one spot, and there's 3 guys for it: Eduardo Rodriguez, Ryan Nelson, Jordan Montgomery. And I just look at the 3 guys that are presented there. And look at those 3 guys and tell me that you can't find another role for Jordan Montgomery, that you can't find another role for Ryan Nelson, or have Ryan Nelson right there ready to go as the first guy up if an injury happens. You can't move Jordan Montgomery to the you can't move Eduardo Rodriguez to the bullpen the way you moved Jordan Montgomery to the bullpen last year. You just can't do it. So Eduardo Rodriguez, I think, is absolutely going to be the 5th man of this rotation. So if it was me right now, the 5 guys are Burns, Gallen, Kelly, Erod, Brandon Pfaadt. Slam dunk, no doubt. Ryan Nelson, you are the 6th man. You are the first guy up. If something happens to anybody else, Jordan Montgomery, you're in the bullpen. I don't think this is a question at all. Truthfully, my storyline to watch is who gets the closer job. Because the Diamondbacks didn't sign the big fish in free agency. They didn't get a reliever that was going to threaten A.J. Puck and Justin Martinez for those saves. So what are they going to do there? Are they just going to hand it to the youngster in Justin Martinez, or are they going to go with the veteran in A.J. Puck, their deadline acquisition last year, who was lights out the moment he got to Chase Field? That, to me, is a bigger storyline. Who closes games for this team's a bigger storyline. Justin Martinez has the better stuff, but he has the command issue. Do you put that guy in the 9th inning in those high leverage spots to close down ball games, or do you go with the veteran and keep Justin Martinez in the role that he was for this team last year, one of the main setup men? Which path do you take? You didn't get that 3rd piece, so how are you going to configure this bullpen? To me, that is a bigger storyline. What does this lineup look like without Jock Peterson, without Christian Walker? How does Torey Lovello construct this lineup? Is Corbin Carroll still going to be the leadoff man for this team? Where do you put Ketel Marte? I have much more questions about the lineup configuration in a good way than I do the rotation. The rotation feels mainly settled. Burns, Gallen, Kelly, Erod, Brandon Pfaadt, Ryan Nelson, first man up. Jordan Montgomery, you're in the bullpen. Easy. I don't see a way where Eduardo Rodriguez is starting the year in the minor leagues. That's not happening. It contractually can't. He's not going to start in the bullpen. He's a part of the rotation. Burns, part of the rotation. Gallen, part of the rotation. Kelly, part of the rotation. Brandon Pfaadt has shown more than Ryan Nelson has to me. So that 5th spot or 4th spot, however you want to divvy it up, goes to Brandon Pfaadt. So then I have Ryan Nelson and Jordan Montgomery. Those guys are my emergency. Montgomery's going to the bullpen, and I would probably have Ryan Nelson start. I don't know if he has options left. It'd be an interesting thing to look at if Ryan Nelson has some minor league options. That's probably the easiest way to answer this question, because if he has minor league options, then he's absolutely starting the year in AAA and is the first guy up in case of underperformance or in the case of an injury. You need 7 or 8 guys. All these guys are going to pitch all year long. Ryan Nelson has 3 options left. That's what's going to happen. Brandon Pfaadt also has 2 options. He could go down. But I am not sending out a guy who last year pitched as well as he did and made 32 starts. I know he had an ERA near 5, but he was solid for this team. He took the ball every 5th day for this team. Was one of only 2 guys to make that are going to be in the rotation this year that made 30 starts last year. The other, Corbin Burns. So to me, more attention to the bullpen, more attention to the way this lineup gets constructed. But it's here. Baseball is here. No more football. We wait for the offseason here in a couple of weeks, but baseball is getting ready. And I am very excited for it all.